Peace, family. It's your brother Chase back at you again with another reactionary video. And this time we're going to be breaking down this Afro Canadian podcast where, of course, as usual, foundational Black Americans always come up into discussion, always something disrespectful. So we're going to be breaking it down. And this time, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video. So y'all drop in the comment section. Do y'all like the long videos that I'm about to do right now? Or would y'all rather keep it in that 15 to 20-minute range? Let me know. Either way, it's going to be fire. We're going to break it down, and we're going to really dissect it for educational purposes so the family, we can grow from it, we can learn from it, and we can know how to debunk these types of talking points. So let's get into it now.
True, but growing up there, I think it's more about just the way the question is being asked, right? Because for instance, right here, I remember growing up here or whatever the case may be, everyone knows their background. You know what I mean? Like it's an easy question for you to be like, oh, I'm Jamaican, Canadian, I'm African. If when I was growing up in America, that was never really a question. Like no one's gonna be like, oh, you're African American. What African American are you? It's just you're African American, and that's not even has to do with just. It doesn't have to do with. It's just with the whole slavery thing that happened. People don't know where they're from in Africa. So when you're asking them like, "What's your background?" They're looking at you like, "I told you, I'm African American."
All right, family. Let's break this down. Of course, and this is one thing I want y'all to see, that this is a popular talking point throughout the diaspora, which is this thing where Black Americans don't know where we're from. And I keep telling you, this is only a thing that applies to Black Americans, or as we call it, foundational Black Americans, Black Americans who've descended from the American system of slavery. They don't do this with Jamaicans. They don't do this with Haitians. They don't do this with Black folks in Brazil. They don't do it with Black people in South America. They only do it with foundational Black Americans, family. And it's this whole bad faith talking point of basically, we don't know where we're from because of slavery. Okay? We don't know where we're from because of slavery. And number one, let's address one thing. Nobody calls themselves, he said, hey, when you ask them where they're from, we say we're African American. I can tell right now he ain't been around no FBAs. Nobody, family, really calls themselves an African American. Okay? Nobody really calls themselves an African American. We either call ourselves two things. Most Black people are going to just call themselves Black, or they can call themselves a Black American. Nobody's sitting up here talking about, I'm an African American. It sounds corny to say that shit. Okay, that's something that was created by Jesse Jackson in the late 80s, 1980s. He kind of coined that whole African American thing. That wasn't something we voted on. It wasn't something we signed off on or anything like that. Okay, that was something that was just tried to push on us in the 80s. Even when you go to the census, it might say African American on it, but it'll also say African American or Black American. It'll give a couple names, okay? Most foundational Black Americans just say I'm Black or I'm Black American, okay? So we have to understand that. Also, we have to understand for the 100th time, foundational Black Americans are American, family. We're American. Okay, we're not African. That's why we don't claim Africa or claim a country in Africa. We're not continental Africans. You dig? We've been over here longer than many of the countries that y'all claim and rep and y'all wave those flags have even been in existence. We were over here in the 1700s when there was no country called Nigeria. We were over here in the 1700s when there was no country called South Sudan. We were over here in the 1700s when there was no country called Gambia or Benin or different things like that. Y'all still had kingdoms and shit. You dig? But that doesn't stop y'all from waving y'all flag and hollering every 5 seconds y'all know where y'all from. Y'all claiming some of these countries ain't even been around 100 years, and y'all claim it like y'all are so rooted in that country that didn't even exist in the 1800s. You dig? We are America. We've been here, even if we're going to go according to the white man, we've been here since 1619, at least 400 years. Okay? Now, we can go into the indigenous presence, but that's a story for another day. But we got to stop with the nonsense. But let's continue.
What else do you want? What else do you want me to say about this? Like, I don't know if my people now maybe with the ancestry stuff,
Yes.
it's easier to know what your background is, like what part of Africa you're from, what if you're some percentage Sierra Leonean or Nigerian or whatever the case may be. But even that question alone back then is like, you can't ask an African American what's your background. He's gonna tell you he's African American. My people from Tennessee, Mississippi. He's not
Right.
gonna tell you what African country he's from because
You
he
don't
doesn't
know.
know.
No, 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 no. It's not that he doesn't know again. He ain't from Africa. It's really not that complicated, family. And I don't believe they're lost. We're not going to tell you an African country because we're not from Africa. We're from America. If you ask me, Brother Chase, where are you from? I'm going to tell you I'm from Atlanta. If you say, Chase, well, where's your family from? My family is from Mississippi. Plain and simple, because that's where we're from. If we say something different as foundational Black Americans, that will be called lying. That will be called lying. And a DNA test can't make you from somewhere. How can a DNA test tell me that I'm from Nigeria when my ancestry, we know for a fact, has been over here 300-400 years, and there was no Nigeria 300-400 years ago? So how can I be from a place that didn't even exist at the time? This is what I'm talking about, family. It makes no sense. Why don't y'all ask Jamaicans what part of Africa they from? Haitians what part of Africa they're from? They never say this. Again, this is only a question. This is only a dig or so-called dig, what they think is a dig at foundational Black Americans. But let's continue.
You know what I mean?
But do you think there's importance to that? Like, does someone have to know their lineage to that
I think
degree?
I think it's important to know it, but you have to understand, like, being African American, you have to go seek out that answer. It's not something that you just know. You know, you have to do a ancestry
Dive.
test
Yeah.
to find out where you're from in Africa, and that's not necessarily their fault. You know what I mean? If you don't deep dive that situation, you would just never know. You won't know. You just know you're African, but you don't know where part of the continent you're from.
But I feel like they don't even want to identify as African in general. Like,
I
even
mean,
though they're black, right? I mean, did you see with the Olympics when they played Sudan and they were dissing the Sudanese
yeah. I
players
mean, yeah.
and stuff like that?
And again, I told y'all they love to do this, family. They always are trying to crop up some little beef. They're talking about when we were dissing the South Sudanese players during the Olympics. And what they're talking about is a brother by the name of Gilbert Arenas. He said something disrespectful towards South Sudan. Family, Gilbert Arenas is Cuban. He's not foundational Black Americans. See, this is why I always say everything negative, they just dump it on us. So if it's a Negro in America, it don't matter if he's Cuban or not. Gilbert Arenas' parents are Cuban. All right. They just dump it on us. Everything negative, they dump it on us. Don't dump that on us. Dump that on the Cubans. Dump that on the Afro Cubans. Because let's be clear, if Gilbert Arenas was to win an award, y'all will be delineating him then. You'll be saying, oh, that nigga's Cuban. He ain't a Black American. Yeah, us Cubans just do so much better. Y'all will be giving that credit to Cuba. Now, when he says something disrespectful, Gilbert Arenas says something disrespectful about the South Sudanese people. No, that's Cuban. Let Cubans hold that. Let the Afro-Cubans hold that. That ain't got shit to do with us. We didn't say nothing. Okay, we just whooped y'all ass and kept it pushing. All right? Stop dumping your negativity on us and then trying to make us look like, oh, we just be sitting over here talking about Africa. We don't be thinking about y'all. Okay? We don't be thinking about y'all, family. You dig? Only time we say something is when y'all saying some disrespectful stuff like y'all are saying now. But let's continue.
I could see that
There's a division
there's
between.
definitely I know there's a division
Yes.
between it, but I understand the division between it because it's like sometimes, like we could look at it both ways too, like for instance, I'm privy enough to be Nigerian. I know
Yeah.
my background. I know my parents are from Nigeria. I've been to Nigeria. I lived in Nigeria, but they actually don't know. That's a 200, like someone wiped off that history for them to even know what their background is. So, in the sense of it, they don't identify with, they identify with being African American, but they don't identify with Africa. You understand what I'm saying?
Get that.
And if you don't identify with something, you have to combat it somehow, some way. You know, you have to differentiate yourself from them. Like, okay, I know we're all Africans, but I'm an African American. He from Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it is. And I understand it. I'm not saying even me too, like, because when I was a kid, I used to get roasted, so I used to be ready. You know what I mean? Like I used to say things out of ignorance too, as an African. Like, yo, they be like, "Oh, you African? You da 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 da." I'm like, "Yeah, I flew over here. How you get here?" You know what I'm saying? Like I used to be with that.
You heard what he said, family? I flew over here. How did y'all get here? See, they love to play this little game as well. They love to go back to school and act like, oh, we roasted them so bad. And they used to act like they never said anything back. You heard that little stuff? Hey, I flew over here, aka I fled over here. Let's be clear. You're a fleer. That ain't really no flex. You fled over here. Y'all probably claimed asylum. You probably claimed that, oh, nigga, those niggas are gonna kill me in my homeland. Okay, your parents probably claimed that and they gave you an asylum. Let's be clear. Our foundational Black American ancestry, we're not ashamed of our foundational Black American ancestry who built the country. I'm not ashamed of my foundational Black American ancestors who went through horrible conditions but yet survived, who were robbed, who were stripped, okay, of their customs, of their traditions, who were reduced to 3/5 of a human being, but yet still overcame all of that to create the most powerful country the world has ever seen. And who, while they were doing that, pioneered and created over 50,000 patents, okay, pioneered music genres that y'all benefit from and y'all take from and y'all bite off of, like hip hop, like R&B, like jazz, like blues. I'm not ashamed of my FBA ancestors who were once put on plantations, but every day worked not only for themselves and their offspring, but future generations, so we can be here today, okay? And so that y'all can benefit off of it, because you said you were raised in Chicago. So he's living in Canada now. His parents, his parents were fleeing parents, so they end up fleeing to Canada and shit like that. You dig? But they gave you an opportunity for you to flee here. I'm not ashamed of that. Don't let people shame you out. Because I've heard that quite a few times. Oh, we flew over here. Y'all came over here through this and that. Okay, you dig? Why did you willingly leave your homeland? That's the real question. You're a fleer. You're a fleer, family. Don't let them shame you into any of that. But let's continue.
That kind of energy too, you know what I mean? But it's out of ignorance and out of me being in a position where I felt like I had to defend myself. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
how about yourself, Webster? No thoughts on that?
No thoughts on that.
Yeah, but the thing is,
and this brother who just had no thoughts on it, he's, I didn't put this part in the video because it's, I kind of clipped it up. It's like an hour long. But he's I think he's half FBA. His mother is Canadian. His father is FBA from the South. I don't know, but I always question people who sit up here and let these immigrants sit up here and talk crazy about foundational Black Americans. Who let members of the diaspora do that. I always question those type of people. You did, because that's usually not in the FBA bloodline. Okay, usually FBAs, even if they don't know what they're talking about, they're gonna say something. You did, they're gonna say something. Let's continue.
The thing is, I get where you're coming from when you say that when it comes to African Americans and not really seeing themselves as African. Like, I get what you mean by that. But at the same time, when you go to the States, they're treated as second-class citizens, right?
What do you mean?
Like, they're treated like second-class citizens in the sense that, for example, when they go to other places around the world, right? People always ask them, even if they say they're African-American, right? They're going to say about which part of Africa, right? But they'll get insulted with the question because they're saying, like, no, I'm from Tennessee, I'm from New Orleans and stuff like that.
And again, that's cap, family. No foundational Black American is running around here talking about unless they're a staunch Pan-Africanist. And even staunch Pan-Africanists will say, I'm just from America or something like that. Nobody's around here talking about I'm an African-American when they go international. Or I'm an African-American. People say I'm Black or I'm a Black American. You dig? When I went to Egypt, I just said I was American. You dig? It's obvious that I'm Black. I'm American. That's all I said. And there's no questions after that. Okay, they're just making up stuff for bullshit talking points.
Is the way the question is worded, right? If you said, yo, are you African? Like if I say I'm an African American, right?
Yeah.
And I know that no due to any fault of mine, I don't know my background. I don't know where, like, where the ship trade came from. I don't know any of these information because I was robbed by slavery.
Yeah.
And I'm asking you, like, what's your background? You can take offense to that.
And as a side note, family, this is exactly why we don't let other groups of people represent us. This dude who's talking, he's trying to talk for foundational Black Americans, but he's Nigerian. This is why we don't let people talk for us, because he's pushing stereotypes that we don't know where we're from. All right. So just want you, that's another example of why we delineate.
No,
You could, but the other person doesn't know this.
that's what I'm saying.
They're walking in there blindsided.
You should know that they don't know that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you should know, like, they don't have that information. Like, it's a privilege for us to have that information because our parents are from Nigeria. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that privilege of knowing that answer. So once they tell you that African American, you're gonna be like, oh, where did you come from? Then they'll be like, oh, my people and them came from Mississippi down south.
Yeah.
We moved to Chicago, New York. So like my grandparents and them live in the south.
Yeah.
So that's the answer that they know. They don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's not their fault. You feel me?
That's interesting, but that is very interesting. But the reason why I was saying this is because even when you look into the States, right? Remember, there's a lot of racism that goes on in the States, right? Right now, it's been going on for a while, and I'm always seeing the African American plight that's going on, right? At the same time, with that plight going on, they expect even Africans to join in on the battle that they have going on in America.
Yeah.
But they don't even identify as African. So why would they take on the banner of helping African Americans?
Because it's the same.
Family, we have never depended on fleers to fight for us. You niggas fled. Why would we depend on African immigrants or Caribbean immigrants who fled the fight in their homeland to fight for us here? What? You fled your homeland. We know you niggas ain't fighters. Because when it was smoke back in your homeland, you ran. We've never depended on y'all to fight for us. We knew that back on the plantation. When y'all were claiming that Africa shit, and ain't one African ship sailed over them seas to come fight. Ain't one African ship make it over them seas to fight. We knew right then and there, them niggas ain't coming. And they ain't coming for no fight. They ain't coming for no smoke. Okay, what is he talking about? Oh, y'all be wanting us to fight for y'all. Nigga, we know you not a fighter. You're a fleer. What we want from Black immigrants, all we say is, hey, just don't interfere with what we got going on. If we out here fighting for reparations, don't jump your ass on that reparations commission or reparations board and start speaking down on the money that is owed to us. Just stay out the way. Stay out the way, Mbuku. We understand you trying to get some bread for your family. We understand you coming from an impoverished country. We understand you trying to feed your people back home, but just stay out the way. Stay out the way. We ain't never told you niggas to be frontline when it's wartime. What is this man talking about? Because we know y'all ain't built like that. We know y'all ain't built like that because the Africans who are built like that, the Caribbean people who are built like that are back home. They ain't over here. They back home fighting for their homeland. And we salute them and we respect them. You niggas who part of the fleeing class, who are part of the tether class, we know y'all ain't no fighters. Stop the cap. Stop the cap. But let's see what the Nigerian is going to say about why foundational Black Americans do that. Okay, let's see.
Because when you go to, as being a Nigerian and a police officer stop you, you're still Black. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's still the same. We deal with the same issue. And we don't just deal with that issue in America. We deal with it in Canada. We deal with it in Europe. So everywhere. At the same time, if the plight is like, I understand what you're saying in the sense of like, okay, like, but the plight is the same. It's still, the plight is based on just the color of our skin. You know what I mean? It's not based, but the different, like the way I do understand, like we African Americans.
Bear with them, family. Bear with them. We gotta get through the battling.
And Africans, there's a divide there for sure.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that divide is what sometimes some people are trying to like the Dr. Umars are trying to conquer, where it's saying like, yo, like African Americans are fighting for land in America and they could go back home and get free land and build a community and use the knowledge they know. But they're so far removed from that it's hard for you to just get back into that. You know what I mean? Like, even if
family, it ain't no free land to get in Africa. What are these niggas talking about? These niggas are sitting in a Western country. If there was free land to get in Africa, their parents wouldn't have fled Africa. If it was Wakanda, that's why we ain't going to Africa. We know that's cap. Most foundational Black Americans know that's cap. We got to start. I'm going to start doing some video breakdowns of some of these foundational Black Americans who have moved to Africa and were like, damn, I'm getting scammed. I'm getting X, Y, and Z. We're going to start reacting to that. That's why it ain't a gang of us over there. Trust me, if it was so much opportunity, so much free land, number one, y'all wouldn't be over here. Y'all would have stayed in your homeland and been building over there. You know it damn well it ain't no opportunity like that. Not on no mass level. Okay? That's why you're over here. You niggas are sitting in Canada, freezing your ass off. Come on, man. Stop the cap.
You find out as an African American that your people are from Nigeria, where are you going to start?
Where do you start? That's what they always say. But okay, but you can argue the same thing when it comes to a city. When you move into a new city in the States, where are they starting from? They have no friends. They have no contact. The only commonality they have is the language.
Yeah.
But they have to rediscover everything. They have to figure out.
And some do. And the ones that do really be like, yo, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the people I know, like, tried, even, like, later on, like, I had American friends that tried Nigerian food, love it. You know what I mean? Like, if once you get past the whole, oh, it's African food, once you try it, you're like, yo, this is my shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, now I feel like the world is becoming more globalized. Like, even when I go to Chicago now or I go to New York, being Nigerian is a very prideful thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, before I went from, oh, my daddy's Nigerian to now I'm Nigerian. Oh, you Nigerian. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole different.
Yeah, it's a different.
the
it's
vibe
a whole
has completely
different
changed.
thing.
For sure,
It's changed,
for sure.
you know?
But does that go is that due to success of like individual countries? Because I think a lot of people will claim what nationality they are if that nationality is doing good.
I think it's popularity, right?
Well,
it's
that's
the
what
same
I'm
way
trying
if
to
it's
say.
Jamaican. Like, if you was Jamaican in 1992, you was the man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
When Shabarek
100%,
came out,
yeah, exactly.
it's due to popularity.
Africans were hiding under the banner
Yeah,
of Jamaicans.
I was Jamaican too.
Yeah,
I was
everyone's
Jamaican.
Jamaican.
You hear a lot of these folks, they play this game where they're so prideful at particular times, family. But as they're going and they're talking about it, this is a them problem. See, they're ashamed of their nationality. They're really ashamed, some of them, of their country. So they get over here and they try to Americanize themselves, try to cosplay as foundational Black Americans in order for them to seem cool and hip. And then they'll turn around and act like, oh, well, it was our fault that they were ashamed of their country. Okay? Like he said, oh, I didn't really claim Nigeria like that. Now that there's some people in Nigeria who are doing well, or it's kind of seen as cool amongst Africans and Nigerians, because we don't view it no different. I mean, shit, it is what it is. Now they're claiming Nigerian a little bit harder. Okay, so this is what they're folks. And then they try to project that insecurity on us. They tell us if we don't claim Africa, we're ashamed of being African. See, that's a projection. Okay, that's a projection. They're the ones who are ashamed to really claim their homelands. So when we don't claim their homelands, they talk about, oh, we're ashamed of it. No, we're just not from there. That's not our homeland. Our homeland is here. We're foundational Black Americans.
And when Akon came out, I was Senegal.
Yeah, exactly. You claim who's winning. So so I think that's how it kind of goes
Nobody
down.
wants to be associated with a loser.
And I think like it's unfortunate, even with being born in North America. I think like most especially if you're Black and you come from first generation and you're born here, your understanding could be skewed because even though your parents are from Africa, you don't identify as African to that extent because you're not born in Africa, of course. So even if you identify as being African because your parents are from there, you could go back to Africa and it's a totally different culture than you expected.
Exactly.
And you might not be accepted or you might not accept
but you could trace your root back though.
And he's talking about the identity crisis that they have, that they project onto us.
You know where your cousins are. You know where your family are.
But a lot of the times you're not interested. That's why I said it's about the mentality too. Yeah. A lot of the time people that are first generation.
It's hard.
No, but I'm saying people that are even first generation that their parent is there. So I'm not even, we can't even make the excuse. Some people have the lineage right there. They can just go right back. But a lot of people aren't interested. And we have to ask the question, why aren't why aren't Africans or people born in America, born in Canada, born in these different foreign places, why aren't they interested in going back and learning about their lineage? Because that pathway is available for a lot of people.
Sometimes it's just all you know. Like it's I understand what you're saying as well. Because like even for me, as I had a lot of friends growing up in America, right? I go back to Chicago all the time, visit my friend, da-da-da-da-da. Most of them, America is like one of the strongest passports to ever have. Like you could go anywhere, no visa, da-da-da-da-da.
I think Germans have the strongest one.
Yeah,
I think so.
One of the strongest. Yeah, I don't know if it's the strongest.
I think Canada passed U.S. now.
Yeah, Canada passed U.S. But I'm just saying. Yeah, Canada passed U.S. and passport, right? But still,
these niggas always trying to get some clout.
That's what they say, right? That's what they say. But at the same time, you know how many people I grew up with that don't have a passport?
Yeah.
Like
I heard it's a very small number.
You know how many? Exactly. You know how many people? Now it's getting better with all the passport bros and stuff like that.
But even that's a small.
It's still a small percentage.
Yeah.
It's still
very
the
small
majority.
Percentage. The majority of the
talking
population. We're talking about this today.
Majority of people don't have. Like I know it because I go back and be like, yo, you guys will love Canada. You guys will love Toronto. Oh, ain't that where Drake's from? Da, 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 da. Yes. And people have never came to visit me yet. You know what I'm saying? I go to Chicago all the time. People.
The folks with foundational Black Americans ain't thinking about no Canada. Well, what we going to Canada for? What we going to Canada for, boy? And this is another thing that really triggers them. They love to try to pass it. Oh, you guys don't travel. You don't do this. What is there really to see? What is there really to see? Okay. What is there really to do in your homeland? There's nothing really to see. It's nothing really to do. Also, they don't understand that America is very diverse as far as people, culture, different things of that nature, depending on what part you're in. America is very diverse. We have a lot of different terrain. Okay, let me tell you, some of the most beautiful places I've been to, and I've traveled internationally, have been right here in America. Utah is beautiful, family. Colorado is beautiful. These places that are right here in America are beautiful places, different scenery, different terrain you haven't seen. Okay. A lot of people ain't really tripping off, going to your homeland. And still, foundational Black Americans travel. We do travel. We do go places and come back. You dig? So that's just the thing.
I grew up with still ain't never come to Toronto yet.
And it's super close too.
And it's super close. You could
but
drive
what do you think that's due to? Like again, even in America, it has to be due to something.
It's being comfortable in just your surrounding that you're not willing to broaden your horizons. Like even me, for instance, like I said before,
being comfortable or being fearful. I think a lot of fear drives more people.
It could be both.
Bro, nobody's afraid of your country. What's in your country? What are we gonna do in your country? What opportunities are in your country? That's the question. Y'all ain't saying nothing to do and come see. You just saying come. Okay, come and do what? If I'm gonna spend thousands of dollars to go across to the continent of Africa, and I do recommend people go. But if I'm going to spend thousands of dollars, for what? What am I going to see? What am I going to do? Okay? That's what y'all should be talking about. You just want us to come see because it's Black people over there. It's Black people over here. And it don't cost me $1,000 to see a Negro in the city of Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta. There's plenty of Black people in Atlanta. Come on now.
Because I think Americans, just from what I know, a lot of Americans that I do know, they seem like they're not as flexible as other cultures when they go elsewhere.
No.
So they're not so easily adaptable to switch to someone's culture. It's always, what's that? Why is this way? And why is that way? If you're...
It could be pride.
This is what I mean about the pride, because I go like, as
level of arrogance.
You have some... I'm not saying everyone has this, but I see anecdotally with my experience that, you know, some people I've seen from like America, they're like, oh, there's black people here, oh, there's homeless people here, oh, there's this here.
I've seen that.
And it's like, me as a Canadian, when I go places, I don't ask those foolish questions. Everything's going on, and
family, when foundational Black Americans go places, we like, oh man, it's show me where the black people are, the black people here, X, Y, and Z, because we don't know about y'all. Damn, we don't. They act like we sitting over here reading about black people in Lesotho. I don't know anything about them. So when we see black people in different cultures, different garments, different things, we're asking a question like, damn, when we go to certain places in Europe and the back walls of France and different places like that, and we see a gang of black people, like, damn, okay, cool. This is where I need to be. This is the place to be. It ain't no disrespect. We just saying, see, around the diaspora, they sit up there and they're obsessed with us. They watch Black American shit all day. They're watching the ins and out of Black Americans all day. We don't watch them like that. Sometimes our first experience of them and their culture and their traditions is when we touch down. We're not sitting up here on the phone. Damn, boy, it's popping in Tanzania. Man, did you see what Umfumi said in her new Afro beat track? We're not looking at that because we're in our own culture. We're in our own spaces. We have our own motion going on. So, of course, when we get to your homeland, we're going to finally see what y'all be talking about. You dig? We're not obsessed with y'all like y'all are with us, where y'all think y'all know the ins and outs of our culture. So let's be clear about that.
Every single place is the same.
Yeah,
but I see that arrogance or ignorance of coming
from. I grew because I could see myself, like I could always be like, all right, you know what, Canada changed me for the better, because I remember how ignorant it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not even just, I'm not gonna lie, the school system, everything in America, it works against you to the point where you're like, I understand why you, like, for instance, if you see, like, here in high school, you could go to high school and basically do nothing for grade 9, grade 10, and then turn your life around in grade 11, grade 12, take an extra
easy.
13, easy. In America, it's not like that. Once your GPA sinks to a certain level in grade 9, like, you get to grade 10 and you're thinking to yourself, what's the point of even going on with school?
Wow.
Like, because it's like everything cumulatively counts. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So if you fail grade 9, you have to work your ass off in grade 10.
Because people are struggling to just get their high school.
That's why,
diploma, right?
because everything counts.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Even the way things are being taught in America, bro, for the longest time, I never knew Canada. Like, I didn't, not for the longest time. But when I was in school in America, I didn't know Canada was bigger than the U.S. Because on the geography paper is a big-ass picture of the states and a little-ass line that says Canada. So I could never, I could never tell you that Canada is bigger.
The propaganda.
It's not. It was never bigger to me until I came to Canada. You know what I mean? So all of these things attribute to the reason why you think the way you think.
Okay, so
you know what I mean?
That's true.
Just you explaining this, what it's told me is that Americans, African Americans, or just Americans in general, they live in this bubble where the world is as big as where they live.
That's how it was when I was growing up.
America's its own country, and everything outside of it is.
It doesn't. It's not as good as America.
Yeah, it's like
it's not as
good.
It's not.
And they also
family. Is it better than America? Is there any African country that is better than America? I'm talking about everything, financially, opportunity-wise, resource-wise. Is there any African country that's better than America? Okay, is it a bubble or is it true? You dig? Is it a bubble or is it true? Because none of you Negroes are sitting over in any African country right now. You're sitting over in a white Western country. See, we don't have to formulate it. This ain't from no bubble. We watching you niggas in another country. Okay, most times, every time we see y'all speak, you're in a white Western country, or you're over in America with us. But you're over in America talking about how Africa or how we're in a bubble and we think America's so great. No, we're looking at your actions. You ain't talking to us in Ghana underneath a coconut tree somewhere, living your best life. You're in Canada, cold ass Canada. Other buddies grew up in Chicago. Okay? We're watching your actions as well. Y'all ain't never in Africa when y'all talking about how great Africa is. You rarely see people on podcasts talking about how great Africa is living in Africa. They're always living somewhere else. You dig? They're always living somewhere else and taking advantage of American companies and American opportunities like YouTube, like Instagram, which they're big on Instagram. You dig? So, hey, that's on y'all.
People to go and fly out to all these other places because it's like, well, everywhere else is savage land.
And,
Yeah.
and to be fair, in America, if you travel in America, there's a lot of different like tropical places, climate change.
Everything you need in America is there.
Yeah. Anything you need in the world is in America.
In America.
Even Sin City with Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas.
The food, the drinks,
entertainment capital, Hollywood.
Why would you go to a third world? Why would you go to
more dangerous places in that
I used to always think Canada was smaller than America until I went to high school here and I'm like, what? Nah, no way. Niggas are lying.
It's crazy that they even manipulate the geography.
Yes.
Of things. So imagine if you're saying that Canada looked really small, imagine the continent of Africa, how small.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
And then I remember even growing up when, every time they mention Africa, they always mention people living in trees, riding zebras and giraffes and all types of weird stuff. And even World Vision killed us.
Bro, I was called African booty scratcher. Yo.
Here we go with the African booty scratcher family. Oh, we knew that was gonna come up. I was called an African booty scratcher. Oh Lord, boy, that one roast, that one childhood roast took a number on these folks.
Killed us with that.
World Vision, like
those commercials.
You climb trees, dumb ignorant questions. But you know what I mean? Like I felt like at the time I understand because it was just the pridefulness. Like I don't think Canada has as much. The only thing that I'll say is Canada to me has a better system for how to integrate people from different cultures. But I don't think Canada has the American pride. The American pride is a different thing. It's not even the same. It's not because
Americans are winners. They like that prideful, boastful.
And to their point, that has to do with the people. See, that has nothing to do with people. They sitting over there talking about, oh, well, America told you that Africa was small and Canada was small. That's why y'all didn't visit. No, nigga. Y'all ain't never talking about Canada. Even on this pod, y'all ain't talking about nothing great that's going on in Canada. If you go look at their whole podcast page, I think it's called Far From some shit. I don't know. I'll put it in the comment section. But if you look at their whole podcast page, ain't nothing over there bigging up Canada. Ain't nothing pro Canada. Why the hell would we visit? Y'all live there. Y'all don't even talk pro Canada. You dig? Y'all be living in these places. You don't talk nothing pro Canada. You talking about what's going on in America. Come on, man.
Attitude, and it makes sense. That's why they're patriotic.
Like if you, I don't care where you're from. Once you're American, you're American.
You're American.
That's all.
Yeah, people know what it is. Like people know the reputation of American. Like even sports, whatever, anything it is. It's like I'm American. So
okay, we excel.
I know.
America, I'm supposed to win.
They excel. They're supposed to win.
They don't have.
I'm bigger than life.
I'm bigger than theirs. What do you have in your country that we don't got?
Exactly.
That's how they
so maybe that's why you have that arrogant attitude sometimes, especially in certain states. Like certain states are different. Like we've been to the South, and the South is more humble. People aren't really like that. But if you're in the North, and New York's and the Phillies, and the attitude's a little different.
The attitude is different, but I even felt like some place New York, I felt like they're more culturally blended. Like
yes,
like
of course.
Chicago. I grew up in the south side of Chicago, so I could tell you it's not like that in the south side of Chicago. It
Old
wasn't
block,
like that. Yeah. Something like that before that.
Before Old Block.
Yeah, before Old Block. But like
Chief Keef and them.
even south, even some parts of the south, that arrogance, that ignorance is even more prominent than there. Then you know what I mean. You could still probably meet somebody in the south that be like, I don't know, y'all climb trees or some shit. Like
Nobody says that shit, family. Stop it. Niggas just making up shit. Ain't nobody in the South talking about Africa still climbing trees and shit. Stop it. Stop it, nigga. Stop capping. Let's be clear, family. It was foundational Black Americans who really uplifted the African continent as far as his image. It was scholars like foundational Black Americans like Dr. John Henry Clark and others. All those African scholars, Dr. Yosef Ben Joe Cannon, what's my guy's name? Shayanta Jope, Ivan Ben Sertima. These people who were coming from around the diaspora, they came over here and we bigged them up. We took their work and cultivated it and said, hey, man, this is brilliant. This is excellent. We were the ones helping to uplift globally the African continent. We were the ones putting the South African apartheid under pressure globally. It was a foundational Black American brother. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but he was the one who first brought international attention to Leopold and what was going on in the Congo, where they were chopping our brothers and sisters' hands for not meeting rubber quotas. Get the fuck out of here, man. Get the fuck out of here. Ain't nobody been talking about y'all climbing in trees. Stop it. Stop it. Now, maybe a little kid who was roasting or some shit, but stop it. Ain't nobody talking about that. And if they were, goddamn it, y'all wouldn't be over here in mass numbers like that. If it was so hostile for y'all would be somewhere else. Hell, let's be clear. There's way more Black immigrants over in the United States than it is Canada or any other place. Come on now.
You can still get that. You know,
in Chicago, you're saying.
In Chicago, Chicago is better now. But I'm saying even
you're saying the ignorance can be in like those areas too.
I think that's due to the educational system out there.
It could. It's due to that. It's due to that too. Yeah. And it's. I feel like educate is poorly funded. I feel like education is just harder in the States
too. Because people drop out and all that.
If you have a GPA of you need a 2.5 to go to college, right? If you have a GPA of like 1.6 because you was playing around in grade 9, for you to get your point from 1.6 to 2.5, you have to have like a B average in grade 10. Once I see that I'm already flunked grade 9, I'm out. Like, you know what, fuck it, I'm dropping out.
Done.
I'm out.
But then what do they do then? Like, okay, they drop out. What did they do from there?
You can now get your GED later. Like, you can now go back to get your GED. Because it's like now it's like, yo, I'm stressing myself going to high school.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like, okay, they're out now. They're not. They're no longer going to school because
they dropped out.
They dropped out. But now, what are they doing now? They're just on the streets,
chilling, working, maybe on the streets. I know a lot of people that, like, when I went to high school, I knew mad people that dropped out after grade 9. I knew mad girls that was pregnant after grade 9.
Wow. Oh, Lord. Here we go with the FBA, baby mama, drug dealer. That's all we doing over here in Chicago. Stop it, man. Stop it. Okay, family, these folks don't want us to start talking about the baby mama drama, the education problems in their homeland. Okay? They don't want us to start talking about that, family. They sit over here and act like they're so sophisticated in their homeland. Oh, the education is so much better over in those African countries. It's not. And I'm not saying the American system is perfect. It's not. But they love to paint us with the worst of the worst. Man, they just sit over there. I knew so many baby mamas in high school. Oh, they died. Ain't no Nigerians over there fucking. It ain't no baby mamas over in Nigeria. It ain't no young girls getting pregnant over in Nigeria. Is that what we saying? Because last time I checked, what is it? 250 million of the motherfuckers over there in Nigeria. Somebody doing something. How many people is it in Nigeria? Put that in the comment section. I think it's like over 200 million people in Nigeria alone. Y'all doing something over there. Okay. Africa, I believe, has the youngest population in the world. Okay, it's some teen pregnancy going on over there. Let's be clear. It's some teen pregnancy going on over there. It's some miseducation going on over there, but y'all don't ever talk about that. No. Y'all ain't gonna talk about that. But when y'all get to these cities and you get around FBAs, boy, y'all love to bring up all the negativity you saw. The O Block. Oh, over there on O Block, they just be shooting each other. And I met so many pregnant people and so many people dropped out. Stop it. Stop it. Family, you got brilliant foundational Black Americans. It was just a sister. Hold on. It was just a sister. Let me type that in. It was just a sister right here. This is Sister Dorothy Jean Tillman II of Chicago. This is a foundational Black American sister. Made history as the youngest person to earn a doctoral degree in integrated behavioral health at Arizona State University. She just got her doctorate degree at 17, family. This is a FBA sister from Chicago. And this is the granddaughter, family, of Dorothy Wright Tillman, who was a civil rights activist and reparationist. Okay, she was for reparations. This is her granddaughter. Shout out to our young sister, Dorothy Jean Tillman II. Got her PhD at 17, family. Beautiful sister. Look at her right there. Got a PhD at 17. See, they never mentioned that. That just slips their mind. Okay? That type of person, that FBA sister, that just slipped their mind, family. Okay? But that's what they do. But they always report on the baby mamas.
You had to just, like, we were all kids one day, the next day some of your friends were adults. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it happens so quickly. And it's like, yo, you can't tell that person, like, I can't be like, yo, you need to go back to school when I know you flunked grade 9.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know, you have to work 10 times as hard as me to even get to even possibly go to college.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that.
Here it's like, yo, you have so many second chances.
Yeah,
it's done better. You know what I mean? Like, it's done in a way where, like, I understand. Like, that's why people here be like, yo, why do people drop out so much in America? And they don't get it. Because I'm like, because once you get in high school, whatever you do from grade 9 counts to grade 12. If your average is 2.5, if your average, I think you get like 2 points for a C, 1 point for a D. So if you average D's all your grade 9, how hard would you have to work to get your cumulative average to get to 2.5?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Messed up.
But, you know, I guess the real question I want to ask is, how do they bridge the gap between African Americans and Africans from the continent, or those are even first, second generation?
I love how they spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes talking shit about Black Americans, you know, talking about how they seen so much baby mamas and old block, and they got discriminated against, and we don't know where we're from, and how we be asking them to fight for us, and we don't be claiming Africa. They say all these things about us, and then end it with talking about how can we unify. We can unify by you not saying that bullshit that you've been saying about us. We can unify by you minding your own damn business. You dig? And just lending a helping hand. You dig? But I'm not trying to unify with these niggas. You dig? How am I unify with somebody who's talking crazy shit about me? You know, I'm not trying to unify with these niggas, man. You need to sit over there on a podcast, talk crazy about us, say all these different things, and then ask about unity. Come on, man. Stop it.
That still understand their lineage. How do they bridge the gap?
Lack of, everybody needs to be less prideful and come to a place where we can understand each other and learn and have knowledge of what's really going on without.
But you already said that they have a level of ignorance. So how do you teach somebody if they...
And boy, he's on a warpath, ain't he? He wants some clickbait so bad. Boy, it's a level of ignorance amongst Black Americans. You can't work with them. All right.
Some people want to learn though. Not everybody have that level of ignorance.
Yes,
some people,
true.
you still meet some people that like they're willing to learn. They even know more about our some people do ancestry tests.
Yeah.
They find out about their culture. They know more about being like Nigerian than I do probably. You know what I mean? Because
they're
they
tapped in.
They tapped in.
Yeah.
So they're and the reason why they're tapped in is because they learned more. So like the people that are ignorant, they need to just learn more and put away their pride and be like, all right, let me learn about this culture. Let me learn about this.
That is true.
We family, we don't have to learn shit. We're not over in your homeland, nigga. We don't have to learn, sit up here and study all day Nigerian culture. Now, I choose to study history. I choose to learn history, but that is not a must do for foundational Black Americans. This whole thing where, oh, you're dumb and you're ignorant if you're not studying Africa. We don't have to study Africa. We're in America. We're in America, family. This thing we gotta study. We don't have to study anything. Okay? We're in our homeland. You're over on our side of the world. You're not in Africa. Boy, these folks got some nerve, man.
That is true.
And us too, as African, we need to put away our pride of being like, yo, combative, because we have to, like sometimes I feel like we have to defend ourselves too. You know what I mean? And we have to put our side and be like, all right, accept them and understand that it's because like in some instances they just don't know any better. Like it's hard for them to know any better. You know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah. It's like you know what it's like. What? Like I'm not saying this is the situation, but it's just like the originals versus the replicas. Like it is. It is.
You gonna get a lot of flack for that.
Yeah. You heard what he said. PanAfricanism. I'll let your boys, man. Shout out to the PanAfricanism, man. This your PanAfricanism right now. And that's how they really feel. That's how they really feel, family. They're the originals and we're the replicas. That's why they go out their way to try to Africanize us. See, they want everything that we do that's positive and influential, they want to be able to claim it. They want to be able to claim it as their own, that it came from some African tribe, or at the very least, it came from the Caribbean. They want to be able to claim all of our positive achievements. But the negative achievements, they want to lump that on us. See, we're culturally dumb. We're the baby mamas. We're the ignorant ones. You dig? All that they dump on, that's Black America. That's y'all. Okay? We're the originals. Y'all are the replicas. Okay? We ain't the same, though. We ain't the same. And these the same people, again, asking for unity. They're asking us, how can we unify? Saying stuff like this.
It is what it is.
Is it though?
Like, well, that's where at least the history of, as we know,
but you know how messed up it is. If you want to really, really go deep, right? Think about it.
And I'm joking, by the way.
Yeah, I know you're joking, but think about it.
They ain't joking. They ain't joking. Don't let them run that game. I was just trolling. I was just another. They're not. They're not.
You know how bad it is? They have the right to look at us funny, because at the end of the day, if our ancestors are not slaves and their ancestors ended up being slaves, who sold them?
Yeah, you know
what I mean?
So you said the right thing here. What he said here is really important, because now you flip the script, right?
Also, too, touching on what he just said, family. He said if our ancestors weren't slaves and theirs were slaves, they have a right to be mad. First of all, colonization is a form of slavery. Let's be clear. Colonization, when Leopold had y'all motherfuckers collecting rubber and he turned Congo into his own personal slave plantation, that was slavery. Okay? What Cecil John Rose did in South Africa, in the De Beers, and how they got 90%, how 10% of the population is controlling 90% of the population now, that's a form of slavery. When they colonized y'all and controlled your resources, when they go around there assassinating your leaders, you dig? Like Thomas Sankara and others, you dig? Steve Biko, Chris Hani. When they go around assassinating your leaders at will, stealing your resources, when you have things like in Namibia, Shark Island, where Germans were boiling the heads of Africans, testing and doing experiments on you, nigga, that's a form of slavery. That's a form of slavery. When you claim and you rep countries that were created during the Berlin Conference. Will you take on the name of Nigeria that was named after a white woman? A white woman gave Nigeria its name. Look it up. You dig? That's a form of slavery. You were enslaved. You were colonized. You were reclassified. Y'all ain't in no different boat. Y'all ain't in no different boat. You did? So, hey, if that makes you feel better, go ahead. Knock yourself out.
Like even with the joke I said, it's what with what you said makes it make more sense, because now you're like, okay, well, why would they have loyalty to you guys, where it's like, if the history is what we know it as, how did we get here? And it's like, so
exactly. If I think deep
your
about
forefathers,
if I look at it deep about it,
yeah. So you can think like there is
a reasons to not like you.
You can have legitimate reason to believe you're different, at least, right? And be like, well, yeah, we're from the same origins, but there was obviously people in charge that wanted to get rid of us.
The resentment would build.
Yeah, resentment.
Yeah, but that's not the populace. That's like the
people were in charge.
So why would you get mad at the
continent?
No, but there was like the history. The history is known, like, as the people in charge. But the history is known that
the history would be known.
The history would be known that there was Africans that collaborated with the white slave owners to sell other Africans. You know what I mean?
Yes. So some would have that opinion, but some would blame like the colonizers themselves.
Or maybe we didn't, like, our ancestors didn't get caught, like we dipped or some shit, or whatever the case may be.
Well, when it comes time for them to take accountability, boy, they turn into Mayweather. Boy, they start shoulder rolling. Boy, they start deflecting punches. Boy, you can't hit these motherfuckers when it's time to hit them with some accountability.
That's true.
It's a resentment. Like,
it's like on both sides.
Yeah, it's like,
there's actually a story that I heard. Right. The fallen tribes that lost wars, they were the war prisoners. They're prisoners of war that got sold off.
Exactly.
To a lot of these colonizers.
Yes.
Because they wanted to get rid of any type of upstarters. Just like when the UK, when it was just Britain, they took a lot of their citizens that were incarcerated and they shipped them off to Australia to basically colonize Australia. So that's almost the equivalent of what they were doing on the African continent.
On the African side.
When they're trying to
Nigga, it don't matter how you cut it and slice it or dice it. Call it prisoners of war. Call us merchants of war. Call us Martians. Call us Nutufians. Damn it. Some of your people sold us out. Some of your people, like the women of Dahomey, which were a lot of foundational Black Americans were upset about with that woman, with that movie, The Woman King, how they kind of act like they stopped the slave trade or they stopped selling slaves. These motherfuckers were selling slaves after the banment of the slave trade. After 1808, when the slave trade was banned, they were still trying to sell slaves, walking people around the tree of forgetfulness. We ain't gonna forget, though. We didn't forget. You dig? Y'all look that up, okay? The women of Dahomey. You dig? Oh, no, we ain't gonna forget. And how we ain't gonna forget, too, how some of us, we go to Ghana and y'all still showing us those slave castles. Nigga, that shit should be torn down. We don't want to see that. Why would I? If I'm somebody whose my ancestors are from Africa, who was sold out during the slave trade from Ghana, why the hell would I want to walk in the slave castle that they were sold out in? Tear that shit down. Set those spirits that are held in those buildings and castles free. Okay? Please, man. And y'all sitting around there making tourism dollars off of it. Man, get the fuck out of here.
Some of the, like, even some places in Brazil, I heard, like, there's places in Brazil, and I think Haitian or whatever, they worship the same traditional tribe god as Nigerians. Yoruba, all this stuff.
I've seen this.
There's like,
I've seen that. There's traces
streets,
of it.
There's streets with the same. It's the same language, but it's just with a different accent. Like, basically, they pray the same way, and it's the same language. It's literally Yoruba. Like all the I forgot what it's called, but it's the same. It's actually the same.
Oh,
God.
They have this in lots of
places. All right, family. All right, this is pretty much the end of the video. They just babbling. They just going across you know, going across the continents now, talking, trying to Africanize everything. They on the Africanize tour in order to boost themselves up. So, you know, they got to take other people. Oh, well, they do that. It's the Wolof tribe who really created that in Africa in 1800s and all. And nigga, all right. But listen, family, it's your brother Chase. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. And again, click that link in the bio. Check out my book. See what you like, because we got receipts for everything that I'm saying. And make sure you support. Make sure you take advantage of the 99-cent sale on the 19 white men who admitted there were indigenous black people in Americas. And make sure as well you leave a comment, because we're going to have to do a whole video on the indigenous black presence in America as part of the FBA lineage, okay? Because that's one of the big talking points. And you know, let me know if y'all think I should do one of those videos. Let me know if y'all think I should do one of those videos. But like I said, click the like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. Let me know if you like the longer videos, or do you like those 15 to 20-minute videos that I drop? Real quick reactionary videos. Let me know. Until next time, family, y'all know what it is, man. It's your brother Chase. Peace and Black Power. I'm out.